And we're back. We're going to do a walk around of the van. Some people have asked about what we did to the van, so we're going to do a walk around real quick. This is a 2021 Ford Transit 250, 148 inch, and it came to us as just an empty shell. It is a upgraded shell, I guess you might say. It's a van conversion, so the cab area, the seating area up front is a little bit nicer than the average work van that you may get to convert. So we're going to start up front here with the suspension. We went with a Van Compass lift kit on this, the 2.0. It consists of a spring replacement, a sumo spring, and it has a spacer that goes on the top of the shock mount to give you the additional height on this. It does not come with the replacement strut, but you can replace the strut, and it gives you, I believe, about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch more lift if you replace the strut to the Bilstein struts, which we did. We decided that while we had it apart, we may as well go ahead and replace the strut while it was in there, even though it was unnecessary. But you know, we still felt like we needed that additional height. We did have to trim the inner wheel well pinch mold just a little bit to aid in clearance, to make sure it didn't rub whenever we would turn the wheel hard over. We have had a couple instances where it does rub just a little bit at the front of the bumper, which we also had to trim the lower front portion of the bumper, but so far it seems to be pretty good. It's improved the ride. Now in the back, it is simply a block. You can get a kit that replaces the rear shocks and shock mounts, but we elected at the time that we did it not to do the shocks until we had the weight figured out, and then we would go back later and change out the rear shocks once we determined the actual finished traveling weight of the van. We did, of course, upgrade the wheels and tires, so we're running a Black Rhino Glacier wheel, 16x8, and for the tires, it's a BFG KO2, 265/75/16. That's about the largest tire that you can put on this van, and it just not destroy the tire by rubbing and everything on the inner wheel well. So we're pretty satisfied with those tires. We have other vehicles that we have always run the BFGs on, and we're pretty happy with those. So we expect to get a lot of miles out of those things. We also added ditch lights to the hood corners. We've got a bracket on there that bolts through the hood hinge from the underside, of course. And these lights are, I believe they're Audexon, which is an off-brand on Amazon, but they're originally marketed as a replacement headlight for a Jeep. But I was able to wire them up, and they're wired into my parking lights on the van, so that when those parking lights come on, they light up. And then I also have a switch inside where I can cut the light on to run the light just solely by itself. But the light itself, that has these two little bars at the top and at the bottom of the light, which will light up momentarily when the van is unlocked or locked, in conjunction with the marker lights on the van as well. So they put out a pretty fair amount of light, and of course we have them angled out pretty good to light up the ditches, and so they work pretty well for us. We did do running boards or step boards on this van. We did a little bit different than what is normally done. Generally, the entry side or the passenger side has a full-length board from wheel to wheel, and the driver's side just has a short board that's just under the door. For us, we decided we wanted a full board on both sides, so we had to really special order the set from Luverne. I think that's how you pronounce that, but the boards are made by Luverne. They're the 6-inch Omega 2s. So onto the roof rack. Our roof rack is built from 80/20 extruded aluminum 10 series, which holds a 6mm bolt in the slot. Sometimes it'll hold a 1/4 inch bolt, but not usually. The head's just a touch too big to slide in the channel. The 6mm fits a lot better. Ultimately, that's what it was designed to hold, so naturally it fits better. We did put this together ourselves, ordered it in multiple pieces. put it together. I did use brackets, roof mount brackets from Unaka Gear to facilitate the mounting. We've got 4 crossbars. 2 of the crossbars, well, 3 of the crossbars actually hold our solar panels that we have up on the roof. The solar panels are Renogy 100-watt panels. We have 2 of those. Yes, I know some will say that I don't have enough solar for the amount of battery that we have, but it seems at this point to be working okay for us with driving. We'll get into that part a little bit later when we talk about the power system inside the van. We also, of course, installed a window on the side. We went with the C.R. Lawrence 1033 pill window, which is a tilt out, not a slider. A little bit of work to put that thing in. You have to cut away some of the inner strutting reinforcement on the van wall, but it went in pretty well once you get the hole cut, and so far it's worked pretty good. It draws air through quite well. It's nice right now when it's not hot, so we'll see what the future holds in the summertime.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the modifications and what we've done to the inside. So our bed, we bought bed supports from IKEA. We believe they're called Skova, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce what they are. But it's the bed supports and then wooden bed slats. They go together. So far they're working out great. We love that. Got a 6-inch foam mattress, nothing special, just a kind of basic foam mattress. So far it's been fantastic as well. Obviously sheets, full-size sheets. It's about a full-size bed, mainly because we wanted to have a little bit of extra room at the back. We could have gone all the way to the doors, but we knew we wanted to utilize the back doors for storage. So, Sirocco, is that how you say that?
I think that's how you say it. It might be Sirocco.
Sirocco.
It's French.
Marine fans. Adjustable, twist them, turn them, you know, these are great. We use these a lot sleeping when it's hot out. This, we went with the upper cabinets out of wood, and this houses our clothing, which actually doesn't look too messy at the moment. We've got our faucet, ordered that on Amazon. Just a faucet I found, I liked the looks of it, we ordered it, it worked. Control panel here. This has our light switches for our living room lights, our sink light, and our under cabinet bed lights. We have a USB port here. It's turns on and off so the glow doesn't bother us when we're sleeping. Our water monitor. I believe this is a marine sink for boats, but I'm not 100% on that. It's by Ruvati. It's a little larger than some you might find in an RV, and it's definitely smaller than something you would find in a house, but it's a great size for us, and I like a farmhouse sink, so we did the under counter mount for the farmhouse style sink. And then I've got this handy little rack that we got at Lowe's that slides right over it. You can sit a hot pot on here, you can sit dishes to dry on here. It's a great all-purpose. We added a shelf over our bed at our heads. It's not very big, but it's just enough to hold a cell phone, you know, my earplugs, hair bands, sleep mask, whatever, headlamp. We just can stick items up there. We have lights installed in the shelf so that we have a little reading light. These are great in the evening when we are getting in bed. Just a little touch switch right there. You can reach right over your head, turn the light out. On this side we have our kitchen cabinet. We installed our heater here on the back side of that cabinet, our heater controller, remote control, so that we can turn the heater on and off from bed. Very convenient. Don't want to have to get out of bed to turn on the heat. Kitchen cabinet has a few food items in here. Pretty good space. We utilize these little baskets just to hold all our small stuff to keep it from slinging everywhere and falling out when we get where we're going. Max Air remote. We installed that there as well. Same thing, we can reach it from in the bed so that we don't have to get out of bed to have to control the fan. 2 more switches for the over the bed lights and these under cabinet lights. We have our Renogy inverter. We can turn on and off from inside so that we don't have to go outside for that. And that's our battery monitor, another USB outlet that turns itself on and off. This is an acacia wood, which is a hard redwood butcher block countertop. One piece worked quite nicely for the 2 counters. We were able to get both counters and the cutting board out of one piece. We opted to hide our toilet. It is on a slide. It's a 500-pound slide, so you can actually slide it out and just sit on it there. You don't have to move it anywhere else. It's a 5-gallon Dometic toilet, just kind of a basic camp toilet, nothing special there. So one thing that we're pretty proud of, we installed a propane burner. So when the weather is inclement or it's too cold outside to make coffee in the morning or whatever, we can just turn it on and boil some water, make some soup, whatever. Every kitchen has a junk drawer. This is ours. It houses a little bit of everything. Our next drawer houses plates, utensils, cups, some baking items, more food items, kitchen utensils, or bowls, utensils, just kind of random. This is primarily our coffee drawer, my coffee pour over coffee pot. We designed this bench on purpose. It houses our main fridge and freezer, which is on a slide. So you slide that out, open it up, get what you need out. It's wonderful having it low like that. It's the best thing that we've ever done.
So in the front face of the bed platform, you can see there's about a half moon shape. I cut that out intentionally, so that's basically a built-in step that helps us get up into the bed since it's a little bit high off the floor. And then to the right there is the exhaust vent for the diesel heater that we have installed in the back, which I'll show you a little bit later. And then of course above we have 2 cubbies. Basically these 2 little baskets hold various storage items. One's mine, one's Sally's, and it just keeps the things that we need every day at hand, so we don't have to climb across the bed into the cabinet or what have you. So it works out pretty good with that design.
If you know us, you know we always have a drink fridge, or a beer fridge, you might want to call it. So we designed this, covered it just to accent from the walls, but this is our drink fridge. This is a Joy Tudus, I think it's called. Works pretty well. We're pretty happy with it. So we wanted cedar boards, rough sawn cedar boards for the ceiling. And then of course we also installed the Max Air fan, which is pretty self-explanatory as well.
So a big component to this van, something that I really wanted to have, was this slide out. In one of our earlier builds in the Tacoma, before we ever had the Alucab, I had built a slide or 2 slides in there, and it was just great. It worked out great. Easy to pull out, set up, and slide away whenever you're done with it. So I spent probably more time on this thing than I should have. Had it about halfway built at one point, and then decided I didn't like that design, so took it back apart and redid some things. I did shoot a quick video about the kitchen slide, but I'm gonna try to be a little bit more in depth about it. But I hope I can put a link up here about the kitchen part of it real quickly. But let me show you what we got here so far. So one drawer is basically a storage drawer for all sorts of things. In the back, we have a collapsible table folded up here, some camping shoes, of course. Our shoes are there. So we've got 2 of our chairs. We carry 4 chairs, 2 different styles depending on what we're doing, how we're setting things up. Under here I have my pop-up fire pit that we use sometimes when we're able to be somewhere where we can burn a fire. The back portion here is just a flip-up door that I have a strut on to pick it up, hold it up. So we have we have our sand mat stored in here. I've got a hose for our water fill, extension cord for power when we have the access to plug into power, an air line, lighter, gloves, different things, you know, thermocell refills, almost kind of a catch-all, but an outdoor thing. I have my tool roll down here in the bottom as well. So it's basically kind of like a utility drawer, but it works out great as far as easily accessing things that you may not need every day, but when you do need them, you don't want to have to work to get them, because as you know, if it's a pain to use, you won't use it. Okay, so on this side we have the kitchen slide, which is I don't know, the second, third heart of the whole operation. Built this slide. Comes out here. Of course, this is my Camp Chef stove, which is wired in. I have my hose here that connects to my propane bottle. We carry a 5-pound propane bottle to tie into, and then the other end of the hose ties into the stove. I tried to get a longer hose or build myself a longer hose, but apparently the hose that Camp Chef uses is proprietary, the fittings and everything, because I can't find any way to find some other hose to hook up to the actual stove itself here. Here we just have a cutting board surface. This is all built out of maple, cutting board surface here. And then of course we also have hinges that pop it up, and we have our pots and pans and fire gloves, things like that. A few cooking utensils to use to get at quickly. And then of course it just folds right up, packs right up. One other thing I did want to show you that we did, again I briefly highlighted this in the slide out video that we did, but I also put a sink in, which it has a faucet, and we connect our water, which is behind the tank here, and it connects to a fitting, and so we have running water here. And this is just a small sink that's collapsible, that could pop out, and then you can easily empty it as well. So part of this build was to make it easier to access the things. I mean, if I put something on top of this slide box and it's at the front, I'm gonna have a heck of a time reaching it. So I built these drawers that are fitted to the top of the main box so they can slide out as well. And we just have firewood, a toolbox up there, a small propane Mr. Buddy heater there, so we're able to carry a little bit of firewood, or if we're out somewhere we need to buy firewood, we've got a place to put it inside the van to keep it dry and be ready to burn, not wet in case it happens to rain. So all of the slides on this box are locking in and locking out, which is a key feature in my opinion, because if you're parked somewhere and you're on a little bit of a slant nose down, you've got that kitchen slide out and you don't want it sliding back in when you're trying to cook, because that would be troublesome. But the other slide tray on the top is basically just storage. We've got our go treads up here, collapsible camp table, a couple of front runner chairs, my scuttle with the dome, things like that. So at this point, I'm pretty happy with the way the whole slide has worked out, and it's going pretty good, I think. It's a 22-gallon over the wheel well tank. It's actually designed to fit in a Sprinter, but it does fit a Transit quite well. So we have our water inlet here and our water outlet, and I have a quick disconnect so I can just plug the hose in or off if we need to spray down anything back here, whatever that may be. 12-volt powered outlet, which we turn on and turn off as needed, and then your regular 12-volt, like what they might call a cigarette lighter plug. I do have a switch here that controls a couple of lights that I have underneath the bed, so we do have a little bit of light in the garage area if we're set up somewhere and it's late and we need to get in here and see. And then this switch here is for the water pump, which is again located down on this end. Okay, so over on the other side we have our fuel tank for our diesel heater that's piped in, goes through the floor, out, and comes back in. And then this is my fuse panel for most of the components on the left side of the vehicle, in the heater air intake. Now what I did, again, I tried to design this thing so that you could get to something and work on it on the road if you had to, and it is movable so you can get to the diesel heater if need to. So this simply tilts up and out of the way, and then there's the diesel heater. That's most of the wiring for the left side of the van going into the fuse panel that's back here. And you simply have to have something. I have a little stick that I use, a little dowel, to prop it up if I need to work on it, but it is hinged and it pivots up and out of the way, so you could, with a little bit of difficulty, but you could get in there to get that heater out of there if you had to replace it or do any kind of work on it or maintenance or anything like that. And of course here are the power systems for the van. We have 400 amp hours of battery. I have a Victron charger up front that you can see there on the right side. We have a Renogy 2000 watt inverter. We have a 40 amp DC to DC charger up ahead that is connected to a switch up front, so we can turn it on and off at our leisure. We have the Victron solar controller, various fuses, the blue C switch to turn it off. The switch here for the solar disconnect, because you're supposed to completely disconnect both poles at the same time, so we have a solar disconnect in there as well. Well, that's about it. That's the van in a nutshell. So far we're pretty happy with it. I will say that it has kicked my butt through this whole process, the whole building, and you're trying to put square components into a curved structure. I can build my way through most things with lumber, but lumber's dimensional and it's squared off. It's much easier to work with, but you have to cut things where they're not square, and that's hard to wrap your head around sometimes when they're not square. But overall it's turned out pretty good. Like I said, we're pretty happy with it. There's been a few noises in some shakedown runs, and we've worked most of those out. We got a couple of squeaks we have to adjust, but that's just part of being in a van. A van's like an earthquake going down the road. But so far, so good. What do you think?
I'm very happy with Jean-Claude Dam van. Got to say that one slow. Yeah, I'm digging it. We still love our Tacoma and our Alicab, don't get us wrong, and we'll still use that. We're not getting rid of it at anytime soon. But the van is nice. Our last shakedown run, we hit some upper 20 degree nights, and it was great. It was nice.
Yep, I agree. Pretty nice deal. So if you got some value out of this video, we welcome you to leave a comment down below if you have any questions about anything that you saw here or something that you noticed that maybe we didn't touch on. Leave that in the comments below and I'll answer those as soon as I can. The comments help the channel. We're trying to grow this thing into something, so we would appreciate it if you would subscribe as well. Perhaps share it with someone that might find what we're doing kind of interesting. And we'll see you soon.